welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm McKelly.
Thanks for joining us for episode 19 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. Today we're discussing chapter 18 of A Game of Thrones. That's Cat 4.
And as always, we'll chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. And if we're doing our job right, hopefully we'll provide you with some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts, provide some useful background, compare it to the TV show, and indulge in a little pedantry. Be sure to check out the show notes. They provide some additional information about the characters and other things of note about the chapter.
So, I hear you are a little bit in the doghouse.
Well, to our non-American listeners, it's Girl Scout cookie season in the United States. They sell Girl Scout cookies, and they're good. And, well, my wife won't get to eat any this year because I scarfed the lot. And
the good news is they sell more.
They do sell more. I was just looking it up, actually. They sell the revenue for Girl Scout cookies is $700 million a year.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of cookie.
I remember that when I first moved here and the first time Girl Scout cookie season came around, I was accosted on my way into the store by a group of little bandits. And I said, "Oh, what are Girl Scout cookies?" And they were just like, "What?" Because I was an adult and I didn't know what Girl Scout cookies were, and they were...
Have you lived under a rock
exactly.
for the past 30 years?
They were freaked.
You could, on your way home, you could stop and buy her a few boxes of cookies.
You should do that.
Make your way out of the doghouse.
The thing is, I think it's not just she hasn't got any Girl Scout cookies, it's I'm already overweight and I'm eating all the Girl Scout cookies. So I can't really do anything about that one, really. Well, not in the short term. I can replace the cookies, but...
Molly went up in her bedroom with a box of Girl Scout cookies the other day, and I then found that box empty later. But of course she swims 5,000 yards a day.
I don't do that. We have so much in common and so little at the same time. All right, let's get down to business with a quick recap of what Cat was up to previously. Last time we saw Cat, she was recovering from the knife wounds to the hands that she earned while protecting Bran from the assassin. Thereafter, she decided that she had to go to King's Landing to warn Ned of the apparent murderous antics of the Lannisters. McKelly, why don't you give us the summary?
Okay. The Tyrashi captain of the Storm Dancer, Morin Tomatis, tells Cat that they're about an hour from King's Landing, sailing from White Harbor. She donates a silver stag for each of the oarsmen as an appreciation. After some lighthearted banter with Ser Rodrik, who suffers mightily from seasickness, Cat discusses her plan to reach out to Ser Aron Santager, the king's master-at-arms, in hopes that he might know the dagger and not be a lawyer.
Not be a lawyer.
Not be a lawyer.
She probably isn't a lawyer. Master-at-arms and lead counsel.
Should be safe on that one. Might not be a Lannister loyalist. And being that he is Dornish and owes his loyalty to House Martell, he shouldn't be a Lannister-phile.
Presumably not. Especially because of the bad blood between those two houses.
Right, yes. She should be safe in her assumption there. Yeah. So Rodrik is concerned that as soon as they dock, she'll be recognized. He's most worried about Lord Petyr Littlefinger Baelish, who grew up with Cat. When Cat was betrothed to Bran Stark, 15-year-old courtly, perfumed Squire Petyr challenged chiseled from ice and rock 20-year-old heir to Winterfell, Brandon, to an ill-considered duel. By the intercession of Cat, Littlefinger survived with merely a scar, but she's not seen him since. How are his feelings now? He wrote to Cat after Brandon's death, but she burned the letter unseen. She is not surprised by his rise to the king's small council, as he was always clever, but she's less sure about his wisdom. Ser Rodrik counsels that he go to the Red Keep to bring Ser Aron to a place where Cat can lay low. Cat argues that he is as recognizable, but he has shaved off his vomit-tangled beard and doesn't even recognize himself. They go with this plan and find an inn. Cat goes to her room, Rodrik to the keep. Cat falls asleep and is woken several hours later by gold cloaks of the city's watch at her door. They assure her they are only there to accompany her to the Red Keep, and they present Littlefinger's mockingbird sigil. When she is presented to Petyr, she gives him a piece of her mind about the nature of the summons. As a boy, you still knew the meaning of courtesy, she says. He gives her an all-too-familiar contrite look. She asks how he knew she was there. He says it was Master of Whisperers, Lord Varys. Baelish tries to steer the conversation toward fond reminiscence, Cat's having none of it. Cat claims she's here because she's missing Ned. Petyr's having none of that. Lord Varys enters and notices Cat's hands. Varys offers to help Bran in any way, and Cat says she's sure that Lewin is doing everything possible. Somehow, Varys knows about the dagger already, and when Catelyn reveals it, Baelish reveals that it used to be his own, until he lost it in a bet with none other than Tyrion Lannister.
Dun, dun, dun. We didn't plan to do that.
No, we didn't.
That was spontaneous.
That is the chemistry we have.
Yes. So that really great stuff. I really enjoyed this chapter.
Yeah.
Two great characters have joined the fold. Both Petyr Baelish and Lord Varys are excellent characters. Baelish is a polished courtier, thin, wiry, with a pointy chin, touches of grey in his beard. Yeah. He's the master of coin, and a comment from Kat seems like he's fit for it. She says, even as a child, he had always loved his silver.
Right.
So, owning the kingdom's purse strings seems like a good job for him.
Yes, it does. Meanwhile, Varys is bald, plump, perfumed, and powdered. He giggles girlishly at times, but he is clearly amazingly good at his job.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things he revealed in this chapter, sort of like borderline magical.
It really is, yeah. Petyr mentions to Kat that nothing happens in King's Landing that Varys doesn't already know about, and often he knows about it before it happens. Mm-hmm. Well, that's quite the magic trick.
Yeah. So the secrets he does reveal, though, he sort of like Varys downplays the magical nature of it.
Right.
He says it's my little birds, and he doesn't exactly explain what little birds are, but they're presumably some network of spies, not actually birds.
They're primarily little beggar children,
right,
which are easily overlooked by adults.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rumored that they have had their tongues removed, so they can't tell others what they know. But
they have to be able to tell Varys.
Right. So unless they've
I didn't think this through. Tell me what you know, kid.
Unless they've got some sort of secret language that they communicate just to Varys through, that's gibberish to everyone else except for Kat, clearly, because she can speak gibberish.
Different gibberish, perhaps.
Right. Yes, it might be. So yeah, as long as they can write. What's the point? They can write to anybody. Maybe he teaches them a special language that only he knows or something.
Yeah, and yeah, of course. But if any of them could read or write, they are, presumably the tongue removal is to stop them from being able to be tortured into revealing what they know.
I guess.
If it's true.
Right,
it's just a rumor,
Yes.
But like you say, if any of them could write, they could be like, stop hurting me, let me just write that down for you.
Pen and paper. Yeah. Just make the pen and paper sign and all.
Universal, yes.
Yeah. As Kat points out, Varys, who's referred to as Lord Varys, is not actually a lord of anything. It's only because of his spot on the small council that he gets such a title. He's just a guy who's got a lot of little birds, I guess.
You think you like Littlefinger's line when he said that never has a king been so beloved as our Robert, at least in Lord Varys' hearing.
Right. I guess that it's implying that people don't tell him what they're really thinking.
Yeah.
But it seems that he hears all, no matter what you say or who you say it to. Yeah. So I guess it really doesn't matter if it's in his hearing or not. He's going to hear about it regardless.
Yeah. So, more evidence of Lannister perfidy.
Yeah.
But Tyrion, it doesn't feel right.
It just doesn't.
Yeah, as we noted at the time, he was clearly unaware of his siblings' involvement in Bran's fall until he stumbled across it. So after we left them, did they confide in him and hatch a second assassination plot?
That doesn't feel right either. Especially,
does not feel right.
Maybe Jaime, they're closer, but I can't imagine Cersei reaching out to him saying, we've got a problem.
Yes.
Although I did say she clearly respects his intellect.
True.
I'm not sure she respects his respect for her enough to confide in such a secret.
I'm trying to parse that. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think also... maybe it's a good point. She does respect his intellect, but I think it's even from her perspective that would be too dark of a secret to reveal to Tyrion because she doesn't trust him enough,
Right, I agree.
And so did they take Tyrion's knife to bring suspicion on him? But why? That doesn't make any sense to me because the last thing you want to do is embroil the Lannisters in the assassination attempt on Bran because
it's too close to home.
They were involved. The last thing you need is that.
Yes. So I was thinking about like possible reasons that it could be Tyrion, and I came up with basically one, and that is that we know he loves Jaime dearly, so maybe he was trying to help tie up loose ends. I mean, we learned in Tyrion 1, he said that only Jaime ever showed him affection or respect in childhood, and for that Tyrion was willing to forgive him almost anything.
Yeah.
So maybe if he knows that Jaime was involved, he might go to these lengths to help him.
But let's be careful on that. So are you saying Tyrion hatches the plot by himself, based purely on the look that was exchanged between Cersei and
That's
Jaime?
true.
That's a lot. I mean, I mean,
That's true.
I'm fond of my brother too, but I wouldn't go murdering a child just in case my brother would.
I think I saw a look.
Yeah.
Could have been indigestion,
No,
but I think it was a look.
But conceivably, he could have gone to Jaime and said,
Yes.
"What was that look about? Oh, we pushed him out of the tower. Don't worry, I'll take care of it." But it just doesn't feel like Tyrion. Tyrion doesn't feel like the cold, callous Lannister that the other two are.
And he's certainly too smart to do the next part, which is to give this guy a dagger that is like only one in existence in all of King's Landing.
And is known to belong
Right.
to Tyrion Lannister.
Although one other thing, did you notice that Tyrion backed Loras Tyrell in the jousting?
Yeah, so you didn't explain that in the summary, but the bet that got the dagger from Petyr Baelish into Tyrion's hands was on who would win a joust between Jaime Lannister and Ser Loras Tyrell.
Right.
So Tyrion may love Jaime, but he bet the right horse there because he bet on Loras Tyrell, who did at the age of 15 unseat Jaime Lannister, which is an impressive feat.
He bet with his head, not his heart.
Exactly.
Which always gets me into trouble in sports betting.
Yeah.
Always betting with my heart.
Your head's not a lot better.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like we were just saying, back to the dagger thing, Tyrion seems way too smart to have been like, oh, and here, use this dagger.
Right. Yeah.
This will really kill him.
Maybe leave it on the scene so everyone knows. Yeah. So then the other possibility, I mean, so there's the sort of general possibility that the dagger somehow was out of Tyrion's possession and sort of wound its way to the assassin
Right.
without his knowledge.
That's what I was wondering. Maybe the guy, the attempted murderer guy, maybe he stole it from, maybe he's a good thief, maybe he stole it from Tyrion, or maybe someone else had stolen it, someone else is trying to get the Lannisters in trouble.
Yeah.
But then someone else would need to know.
To get the Lannisters in trouble. Yeah. So then the other alternative to all this is Petyr Baelish telling the truth?
Right.
I mean, is it just a big lie?
But if he's lying, did he just get lucky about the Lannisters being the ones that pushed Bran out the window? Or does it even matter? Maybe because nobody knows for sure who pushed Bran out the window. So maybe he's just trying to make it look like the Lannisters wanted to kill Bran.
So
Or maybe, I'm not sure.
just one thought there. Did at any point Cat say Lannister before Petyr said it was Tyrion's? I don't think so.
No.
Right? She never made any kind of accusation.
She never did. The only accusation she's ever made is in that room, in her bedchambers,
Right.
with Ser Rodrik,
Yeah.
Robb, and Tyrion.
But
Nope, I mean in Theon.
Yeah, but it's not inconceivable because so what's actually, again, just to sort of like expand on what was happening in the chapter, Ser Rodrik did meet with Ser Aron Santager as planned, and that conversation was overheard by Varys' little birds.
Right.
So it's not inconceivable that was mentioned. And clearly, Petyr Baelish and Varys have had contact between these two meetings, between the meeting of Ser Rodrik and Ser Aron, and between Cat now meeting with them, because
Cat is there.
Cat's there. Petyr knew she was in town, and that was because of Varys' spies overhearing the Ser Rodrik conversation.
Right. So Ser Rodrik may have dropped the Lannister name in that conversation with Ser Aron.
Or perhaps Ser Aron. Well, if the knife really is Tyrion's, Ser Aron might have known too.
Right.
They went to him because he's master at arms and he knows all the knives.
That's true.
So perhaps, but obviously, I mean, pointing the finger at Tyrion, regardless of the sort of random chance of it, it's going to create strife between the Starks and the Lannisters. It's going to destabilize the kingdom.
Yes. Right.
So is that what Petyr Baelish is after?
Yeah, there'd have to be some motive to want to destabilize the kingdom, but
I mean, not to preempt his character, but he's power hungry.
he is. Cat says, I trust him little, and Varys none. So he's not exactly the most, in her opinion, not exactly the most trustworthy of people. So
Yeah, that's an interesting... Well, let's hold off on speculation about which one of those two you should trust more. Because we don't know them well enough yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, clearly Petyr Baelish has risen very high.
Mm-hmm.
Can he rise higher than Master of Coin in the Small Council? Well, no. That's about as high as you could go anywhere without being in the royal line,
right?
Presumably.
Maybe Hand of the King, if it ever came to that.
Hand of the King, yeah, perhaps. So again, I mean, destabilizing the kingdom might help that.
Right, especially destabilizing the Starks.
The Starks, yeah. Yeah, and the Stark-Lannister relationship is critical to Ned keeping his job.
Right. Maybe he's hoping to become King Regent someday. If he becomes Hand of the King and then something happens to Robert, maybe Hand of the King often becomes the King Regent. Anyway,
right, yeah,
now,
yeah.
now we're really speculating out there. But
yeah. So, a little bit of background on Baelish and Catelyn. They were raised together at Riverrun. Petyr was a ward. She thought of him as a brother, but in his mind it was more of a Targaryen siblingry.
Yeah.
Siblings with benefits, perhaps.
I guess so, yeah.
What's less clear to me, though, and see what you think about this, is whether his romantic feelings for her were always apparent to Cat, or whether those were only revealed when she got engaged and he challenged Brandon Stark to the duel.
I think it comes across as though she didn't know.
Right.
But sometimes I feel like women know these things.
That's true. that's yes, good point.
But it didn't come across like she knew it ahead of time.
Yeah. But clearly the challenge damaged their relationship permanently because she didn't read his letter.
Right, what is with her and burning letters so quickly? Just count to 10. Count to 10 before you burn that letter.
But I maybe think about it from this perspective. So she is betrothed to Brandon. Petyr Baelish challenges him to a duel. She says, please don't kill him. He's my foster brother. Please don't kill him.
Yeah.
Brandon does what he's asked. Then she's with Brandon and she gets a letter from this guy who was so in love with her that he risked his life to challenge Brandon to a duel. Would you be happy as Brandon Stark if she went, let me just look what he says? I'm very curious about what my...
Did he send her the letter after Brandon died? Or
that I don't know. I don't think it makes it clear what that is. Because after Brandon died would be different, I think. I mean, then I would be curious if it was I am so terribly sorry for ever...
That's what I was wondering. Maybe he was... Or maybe the letter was an apology for his rash behavior, but she won't know because she didn't bother to open it.
Right. But anyway, given his behavior in this chapter, it seems clear that wasn't the end of his feelings for her.
Right.
He's clearly still smitten.
So Kat asks Petyr why Varys told him she was in King's Landing. And Petyr mentions that the rest of the small council was gone and says also that he was ever a friend to Lysa, Kat's sister. And Kat replies, does Varys know about... And then Petyr cuts her off and says, he knows of everything except for why you're here.
Right.
And it got me curious, what was she going to say?
My assumption, I think you have a more of a in-depth thing. When I read it, I just assumed she meant about the whole challenging Brandon Stark.
Oh, yeah.
Getting into the duel.
It just seemed an odd, because he had just referenced his friendship or his closeness with Lysa Tully.
Yeah.
And
Aron now.
Yeah, that's why I was going to say Lysa Arryn. I was like, wait, no. Yeah, but it is Lysa Arryn and Lysa Tully, I guess. He just mentioned that, and then she said, does he know about... It seemed like
maybe it was something happened between Petyr and Lysa as well.
That is what I was wondering. Now, I'm pretty sure I know what she's referring to, but I can't say because it's a
spoiler.
Yeah, so...
Well, if I accidentally say it between now and the end of the show, just edit that bit out, yeah?
When you come next week, say, I had a dream about how this played out. Yeah. I like how he throws her family's words back at her as why she has not left Winterfell just because she's missing Ned and the girls. That family, duty, honor, which are the words of House Tully, all require her to stay in Winterfell where Ned left her.
But counterpoint... The first word there is family.
It's true.
So that does actually sort of lead me to want to go to King's Landing if I'm Cat. And secondly, her family is the Starks, and their words are winter is coming, and that makes you want to leave Winterfell as quickly as you can. So,
have you not heard that winter is coming?
So does he still hold a torch for her? Is he? He definitely does. No question about that from what he said. But is he also embittered by the fact that when he challenged Bran into a duel, she could have said, "Petyr, I had no idea. Let's run away together."
Right.
And instead she said, "Oh, big Brandon with your muscles, please don't kill him.
Don't hurt this little boy."
No, she didn't say don't hurt him, remember? He picked up a scar. So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much a rebuff to Petyr, I would say.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, family duty, honour. She was told she was marrying Brandon Stark.
Yeah, I don't think she had much of a choice, really, in that matter. I don't even know how well she really knew Brandon. Maybe she would have thought, I've known Petyr so long. He's such a good friend.
Yeah.
But I don't think...
But then the flip side of that is he emboldened by the fact that she interceded on his behalf?
Right.
She could have gone, go get him.
This should be interesting.
See how many pieces you can chop him into.
Yeah. Well, when he tries to reminisce with her, she shuts it down pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's pretty discouraging from his standpoint.
It's one of those... some comedian has a joke about, like, making a overture to a lady, and she sort of, like, lays out, I wouldn't date you if... and lists all this, like, million things that would stop her from dating him. And he's like, so you're saying there's a chance?
That was a line in Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, was it? You
Yes.
see, another movie I've never seen. I get this from third-party things.
So you're saying I got a chance.
Exactly. That's what Petyr Baelish is. That definitely seems what he's thinking.
So Cat was irked over her treatment from him through the Gold Cloaks, as she refers to it, being sent for by the Gold Cloaks as a serving wench. And there's no real need for him to have handled it the way he did. Personally, I think he wanted to show her the extent of his power to impress her a bit. I can send the city watch after you if I want. Have a bunch of guys at my beck and call to bring you to me.
Yes, I can see that. However, I also think there is the cutting to the chase aspect here. Because anything else, she could have said no to any messenger.
True.
I figure it was, at least perhaps from George Martin's point of view, it was kind of like a shortcut to getting this meeting to happen.
True. Yeah, that
but
could have been also.
But interpreting the narrative, yes, I think it's definitely Petyr showing that he's a top dog in King's Landing.
He's a big shot now.
Yeah. I mentioned this before, that I like that Varys has these seemingly psychic powers, but
Right.
he's willing to just explain them away. You know, the reason he knows things is because he's got spies who listen and report back to him. He's not...
You make a terrible magician. This is how I did it. See?
It's a false bottom. So he likes that, he gives that impression of omniscience, but is not afraid to admit the workings. But his expertise is, legendary and substantial. So you have to be very careful of what you say pretty much anywhere in the kingdom, I would think.
Think it, don't say it, I guess, would be the... even outside of King's Landing, probably,
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like he probably has
I mean,
spies
King's
everywhere.
Landing is the hub of power, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, you imagine his web extends the whole kingdom.
That's why they call him the Spider, I guess.
Kat originally assumed that the captain of the ship, Moreo, sold them out to
Yes.
Littlefinger, but
Right.
now she realizes it was Varys.
And she was in stunned disbelief when he asked to see the dagger.
Yeah,
But he really is a spider.
But again, that certainly would have come up in the Rodrik to
Right.
Ser Aron conversation, which was overheard. We know. So
Yeah. So, Kat mentions Ser Rodrik almost going overboard when a storm seized them unexpectedly off Dragonstone, and I wondered if maybe that could have been the storm that Bran saw in his dream. I don't know. Personally, I still think the dream storm was a metaphor for trouble in King's Landing.
yeah,
But they did literally come across
go
an
through a
unexpected
storm,
storm on their trip down. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that was thrown in there to still keep us guessing.
yeah.
Yeah, things are already not really going as planned. They've been in town for what seems like a couple hours, and already all of the two remaining members of the small council know that she's there, know why she's there. Not exactly a great start to their
Pretty much
spy
everyone
espionage.
in King's Landing who's in a position of power right now knows about her presence. There's nobody. Only the people she did the end around who are still on the road from Winterfell are unaware she's in King's Landing.
And she's got weeks before they get there, though, at their pace.
She could throw a party for them when they arrive. So Maego the Cruel gets a reference, and we have not a difference of opinion on Maegor the Cruel, but we mentioned in episode 14 that Maegor rode Balerion after his father, Aegon the First, died. Balerion was Aegon's dragon primarily, but then Maegor rode him after the death of Aegon.
And now this is where we have... we both agreed this is cruel, but it's mentioned... I think it's mentioned in the chapter.
I believe so, yeah, because the chapter, again, because you were summarising, you didn't mention it gives quite an in-depth description of King's Landing and the Three Hills.
Right.
And
I think it mentions that... So when Maegor the Cruel, he was the king reigning when the Red Keep, which is the royal castle, was finished. And after the Red Keep was finished, he had taken the heads of everyone involved in building it. Seems rather cruel.
Right. So the reason being that he had secret tunnels and all kinds of things built into the Red Keep that he wanted to be the only person to know about. That's why he killed them all. So our disagreement is about how cruel Maegor was. Now, obviously, we both agree that was cruel. Yes. That is clearly cruel. But my contention is that that's by far the cruelest thing he did, and most of the rest of his reign, he actually wasn't that bad. So
minus an outlier. It's an outlier.
It's an outlier.
He was in a bad
behavior. That day, he was, Pretty much everything else he did involved Balerion. And anyone who challenges a fire-breathing, dragon-riding king whose last name is the Cruel is really stupid and just deserves what they get.
That's, you make some sense there.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk about Maegor more in the future, and I'll make my case for Maegor the misunderstood.
Maegor the mislabeled.
Maegor the one bad day. Tarred for life.
That's right. Reputations, they tend to stick with you.
That's right.
So shall we do some background?
Sounds good.
All right. So, like Simon just mentioned, I didn't mention in my summary.
It's a summary. You're not reading the whole thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of description about the city that is King's Landing. So I just wanted to go into a little bit more information about it in case you were interested and or curious. The city is built around 3 hills, which is referenced in the chapter: Aegon's High Hill, Visenya's Hill, and the Hill of Rhaenys. Those are named for Aegon the Conqueror and his sister wives. Atop Aegon's High Hill sits the Red Keep, which is the royal castle that overlooks Blackwater Bay. The Great Sept of Baelor sits on Visenya's Hill, and on the Hill of Rhaenys sits the Dragon Pit, which again was referenced in chapter 14, Tyrion 2. I talked a little bit about the Dragon Pit in that episode, but I wanted to give a little more info about it because I think it's referenced in this chapter, so let's talk about it. The Dragon Pit was built to house the Targaryen dragons, obviously, hence its name, although not all of the dragons lived there. But one thing I found interesting in the history of the Dragon Pit is that because of the bloodbath after the Red Keep was finished by Maegor the Misunderstood.
Thank you. I'm glad that's caught on.
Maegor had trouble getting laborers to build the Dragon Pit because nobody wanted to lose their head.
First of all, they were all dead. Second of all, the replacements were not keen to work for him.
That's true. There might not have been a whole lot of laborers left in the city.
I think I would definitely... What I would say if I was Maegor the Cruel, I would say, I'm not going to build any secret passages here.
Right.
The reason I killed all those guys was because they knew about the secret passages. This is a big old pit for dragons. Right. No secrets here.
No reason to lose your head over everything.
When it's finished, I'm not going to have you stand in the middle and have the dragons come in and see if they like it.
I'll throw a big party inside the pit.
Yeah. You, the dragons, 5 minutes.
So people fled the city rather than work on it. So he used prisoners instead. And prior to the Dragon Pit, the Sept of Remembrance was built on the Hill of Rhaenys, which was formerly the main sept in King's Landing. However, during something known as the Faith Militant Uprising, which we'll talk about at a later time, Maegor the Misunderstood...
it's really working.
It is. He mounted Balerion the Black Dread and burned down the sept. So...
Again, another example of he's got a big dragon and a temper.
Right. Know your audience.
Yes.
Maegor died before the dragon pit was completed, so his successor, Jaehaerys, known as Jaehaerys the Conciliator, had it finished. It was huge. It is said that 30 knights could ride side by side through its gate, which it would have to be huge if it's going to house dragons.
True.
Especially a dragon the size of Balerion.
True.
And others. Like I said...
Because they don't have to go in side by side. They could go one by one.
Single file through the gate, please. Like I said in Tyrion 2, Balerion did live in it toward the end of his life. He was confined there after returning to Westeros with the dying Princess Arya on his back from the accursed ruins of Valyria, which is a story we'll save for another time. The structure is now a collapsed ruin. There's a story behind that too, but again, we'll wait for another day for that story.
Sounds good. Okay, so House Baelish is a minor house of the Vale with fealty to House Aron. So there's another connection between Petyr and Lysa.
Right.
They're from the smallest of the fingers. They're long promontories of land that jut out into the narrow sea, and combined with his slight build led to the Littlefinger nickname.
Yeah.
Their sigil used to be a stone knight with eyes of fire, evoking the Titan of Braavos, perhaps, but Petyr has rebranded to a mockingbird. Varys is a fete and wears silks, velvets and slippers around court. Got to stand out, presumably. He originates from Essos, but we'll hold off on his backstory as this will be revealed in the book. He's a eunuch. He was Master of Spies to Aerys before Robert, and clearly good at his job. He has a really interesting backstory, so we'll talk about that as they come to light.
Yeah, it really is some pretty interesting stuff, so we don't want to ruin any of that stuff. Yeah. He's the eunuch that I referenced in Eddard 2 when both he was mentioned and the Unsullied were mentioned. I wanted to differentiate between the two style of eunuchs. So Tyrosh, which is where Captain Moreo Tomatis is from, the captain that captained the ship that Cat and Ser Rodrik made their way to King's Landing on. So Tyrosh is the westernmost of the free cities on Essos. It's got an arbor, it's walled, it's very large. It has a large fleet used in its frequent skirmishes with Lys and Myr for ownership of the disputed lands that lie between the three. The Tyroshi are also known for their flamboyance, boisterousness, and avarice. The merchant city is renowned for its involvement in the slave trade. It is religiously tolerant, and many faiths have temples there.
Mm-hmm. So Loras Tyrell gets a mention. He's the third son of Mace Tyrell of Highgarden and the Reach. He's 18. He's known as the Knight of Flowers. That's Knight with a K.
Yes.
Yeah. He's highly skilled in combat. He was only 15 when he won the joust against Jaime Lannister that Tyrion purportedly won the knife that was used in the assassination attempt. He's dashing and handsome and beloved of the people. So in comparison with the TV show, Cat and Ser Rodrik use the King's Road in the show, so they don't get to King's Landing before Ned. They trail behind. We are introduced to Baelish and Varys upon Ned's arrival, not Cat's, which makes a certain amount of sense.
Sure.
Show Baelish is pretty bold in admitting his love for Cat directly to Ned.
Oh, that's right.
Basically, the conversation we just had between Petyr and Cat was between Petyr and Ned. So it was like, dude.
He's the hand of the king now.
He's the hand of the king. He's the brother of the guy who gave you that scar.
Right. Do you want a matching scar?
for saying the same things. Yeah. Varys shows off his knowledge by commiserating with Ned for what happened on the road with Lady.
Oh, okay, yeah. I vaguely remember that.
So when Cat and Rodrik arrive in King's Landing, they're met at the gate by gold cloaks. There's no overheard meeting, who take them to one of Baelish's brothels, not to the Red Keep.
Like I've said in previous chapters, there's a lot more brothel stuff in the TV show than there is in the book series.
But in some ways, I mean, a lot of it was for let's ramp up the nudity in the show, but it was actually a convenient sort of secret place that Petyr Baelish could use for meetings that weren't going to be in the Red Keep and therefore could be more discreet.
Speaking of that, a friend of ours was watching an episode and telling us about it, and there was dialogue going on in the primary front of the scene, and in the back of the scene there was the whole sex scene going on. Uh-huh. And when the scene got through, he had to rewind it because he missed everything that had been said because he was busy watching what was going on in the background. Which is exactly why they put that stuff in there. So the
characters should have got eyes here. So in the show, we don't get any clues as to how Baelish and Varys know what they know, whereas here in the book, they admit to some of it. They overheard the conversation between Rodrik and Aron. The conversation between Varys, Baelish, and Cat is much the same regarding the provenance of the knife.
Right.
So pedantry, this is just a general piece of pedantry. The whole premise for the trip to King's Landing feels a bit thin.
It does.
Why? Why are you approaching the Royal Master at Arms and just hoping he doesn't rat you out to the Queen? What is he going to know? Yes, conceivably he might know who owned that knife, but that seems like a long shot.
Right.
What are you doing? What are you doing there, really?
Especially when your kid is unconscious.
And it's worse even in the book than the show, because in the show, at least, she was chasing Ned down the road to talk to Ned. Here, she went around Ned, got to King's Landing first. You might as well just go to the inn and lay low till Ned gets there.
Right.
Why do anything?
Yeah, that's true. But maybe after 4 days of sleep, she just needed to get up and move around.
Let's go. The other one is actually the dragon pit. If I'm building a dragon pit, buildings are expensive, and a dome is particularly expensive because there's some significant architectural design and civil engineering involved in building a dome that doesn't collapse.
Right.
Which this one has, by the way. So
there is a story behind why, but it has collapsed.
But these are dragons. They don't need a wide archway in a dome to get in. You could leave a hole in the top, and it would be a lot cheaper to build.
Yes.
And sure, it would rain into the hole, but
they have dragon scales.
They
seem rather...
And the hole, you could build a partial dome up to that hole.
Right. Like a lot of football stadiums are built that way.
Yeah. And then when it rains, they could hide underneath the roof. It just seems...
just deal with it. They are dragons.
They're dragons, yeah. It seems like just overdone, overblown. A bit like the Titan of Bravos, really. You're taking on building structures that are just beyond the necessity, the need.
True, I agree.
So news and notes. An amendment to last week's episode on Bran waking up. We said that we didn't get any of his dream before he woke up, and he didn't. He just woke up. But some of what he dreamed about was later touched on by his nurse telling him scary stories while he lay in bed.
Right.
And so some of that, she talked about the worst winters when others come down from the north.
Was it Old Nan that was telling the stories?
The very lady, yeah. And like the dream, he was very scared by what she was saying.
Yeah.
But there was no indication that he had any special insight. He was just a scared 7-year-old.
Right. Yeah. He didn't see dragons stirring in the east. Or
none of that. No.
Sansa crying herself to sleep at night.
None of that. But he did get scared about what's coming from the north.
Okay.
Thanks, Old Nan.
That's something. Yeah. Yep. So, in conclusion, Cat has very few secrets.
Yeah, she's not proven very good at keeping them generally.
No, she's really not.
Even the ones she's tried to keep have slipped out without her intending them to.
Yeah, she's not so good at that. People have their strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah. But hey, it feels like everyone's going to struggle to keep their secrets from Varys.
It sure does. Yeah, really can't blame her for that one.
No.
Although, I guess she could have taught Rodrik her gibberish language.
That's true, which he then would have had to teach to Ser Aron.
But after all that, eventually they could have done it.
When I say spoon, I mean knife.
And so Littlefinger says it was Tyrion's knife.
Yes, the finger is pointing at Tyrion.
Yes,
the little
is.
finger.
The little finger. Yeah, I like that.
But we don't believe it.
I mean, I guess it's theoretically possible. Like I pointed out a way that it could be possible. It just doesn't fit his MO, really.
Yeah. And I mean, we're not sure where the lie is, where the wrongness is here. It could be right at the root of this. Petyr Baelish might be totally lying about Tyrion ever owning that knife.
Right.
But it could also be...
someone else took the knife and gave it to the guy. Or maybe the guy stole the knife himself. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somehow the knife could have ended up in his possession without Tyrion having given it to him, because it makes absolutely no sense for the 1,000,000th time for him to have given him that knife to kill him, try to kill Bran with.
So Petyr Baelish is a very interesting character, very difficult to tell where his loyalties are. Clearly, he is still in love with Catelyn, so that's kind of, if you're on Team Stark, that's good that he cares about at least one Stark.
But she mentions she trusts him little.
Right.
So
he himself, I think, is on Team Baelish.
right, yes,
Yeah. But loving someone. But the problem with loving someone who's married is that where does your loyalty lie to that family?
Yeah, in some ways you're rooting for them to fail.
Exactly.
Because
At least the husband, anyway.
Right. But Varys, he's another really interesting character. He is also very smart, but again, where does his loyalties lie?
Yeah, obviously, having been the same role for both Aerys and Robert, he is slippery in terms of his loyalties.
Yeah.
But maybe his loyalty is always to the throne. Maybe he's just good at saying, I'll do whatever you tell me to do.
Whoever's king, that's who I'll report to.
One aspect of those slippery loyalties, though, is there a sort of like a deeper lying loyalty underneath it? You know what I mean? You're spy master to the king and you're loyal to whoever's the king, but do you have some deeper foundational base of who you're rooting for?
Right.
Maybe not a particular family or a particular person, but...
I think there's several characters that kind of fit into the same role, like Barristan Selmy. He was the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard to King Aerys. Now he's Lord Commander of the Kingsguard to Robert. But how does he feel about that?
Yeah.
I guess he's just doing his job. Maybe Varys is doing his job as well.
Yeah, but for Barristan Selmy, there's less of a... Their job is simple. They're bodyguard. You're bodyguard to this person. Protect them. Don't let them get killed. Whereas Varys is gathering information. He's gathering information to the benefit of the realm. And that information, you can... Varys is the bottleneck for all the information flow. He can choose
He controls the flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
He can destroy someone with that information, or he could save someone with that information.
Right. And he could twist what he's passing on to Robert to the benefit of others if he wanted to.
Right. Yeah.
Now, he gets the job and keeps the job because nobody does it better in terms of the gathering of the information. The question is if he has a loyalty other than to whoever's currently on the throne, he could really use that against whoever he wants.
Yep. Anything else?
No, I think we're good, aren't we?
I think so, yeah. All right, well, as always, you can reach us at ghost.harrenhall@gmail.com. And then please go out and follow us on Twitter at @ghostharrenhall. And please consider checking us out on Facebook.
We're all over the internet.
We are,
That's
yes.
Good. And always, if you could leave us reviews or
Comments, feedback.
Yeah, like and subscribe. We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, especially on iTunes. We could really use some good... so far, all the iTunes reviews we have been 5 stars and very positive.
Woohoo.
I'd like to bulk that up with some more of those, if possible.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
Sure do.
Okay, bye.
Bye.